I will now be inviting for the Industry Keynote Address a man who has traversed the field of oil and gas from different companies and has left his mark in each and every one of them. He currently chairs the IPPG and is also the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Aradel Holdings PLC. Please, with a warm round of applause, let's receive Adegbite Falade.
On behalf of IPPG, it's my distinct honor to welcome you to this special 25th edition of NOG Energy Week. As you are aware, the government has been taking decisive steps to improve the investment climate of the industry. These measures are targeted at reducing contracting cycles, enhancing fiscal attractiveness, unlocking capital, and addressing long-standing bottlenecks. In response to these measures, we have also witnessed a renewed momentum across production recovery from numbers that were below 1 million barrels a day a few years ago to levels averaging about 1.6 million barrels a day between January and May, and specifically with May output surpassing our OPEC quota for the very first time in nearly a year. On investment, this administration has secured over $8 billion in major upstream FIDs since 2023, including Shell's $8 billion FID in major upstream in the Boga North, $2 billion in the HI field, and TotalEnergies Ubeta FID. In 2025 alone, 28 FDPs worth $18 billion were approved, unlocking about 1.4 billion barrels of oil and 5.4 trillion standard cubic feet of gas. Nigeria's share of Africa's total upstream FIDs have risen from nearly or roughly 4% a decade ago to nearly 40% in the last 2 years. The collaborative effects and the collaborative outcome of the efforts of government, of regulators, of security agencies, of host communities, and operators are yielding the desired results. Mr. President, on behalf of indigenous producers, thank you. Thank you for your unyielding commitment towards building a sustainable oil and gas industry. I must also take this opportunity to appreciate the efforts of the Honorable Ministers of State, Petroleum Resources, starting with oil, our own Senator Enikin Lokobiri, Doctor, I must add. And for gas, Right Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpu, Doctor. The Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Mrs. Olu Verenjen, the Commission Chief Executive of the Upstream Regulator, Mrs. Orishemeyiwa Eyesan, the Authority Chief Executive of NMDPRA, Mr. Rabiu Umar, and the Executive Secretary of NCDMB, Engineer Felix Ogbe. A massive congratulations to the organizers of NOG Week on your Silver Jubilee, under whose watch this conference has earned its place as one of the premier meeting points for global industry stakeholders, and has become a vital platform where policy, capital, technology, and ambition converge to drive progress for both our industry and our country. 25 years is a remarkable milestone for any platform, and we look forward to celebrating many more monumental achievements in the years to come. A massive shout out to NMPC, to the chairman of the board, Engineer Ahmed Kida, and the entire board, to the CEO, I don't know whether to say engineer, but I will say Engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari, for your sustained support for this very distinguished platform. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our industry does not operate in isolation. It is shaped in part by geopolitics that we do not control, but our resilience depends on how well we position ourselves ahead of the next disruption. For example, when the Russia-Ukraine crisis disrupted European gas and refined product supplies in 2022, global buyers scrambled for alternatives. Nigeria, with the 10th largest gas resource in the world, held real leverage. But capacity constraints and delayed FIDs meant that we could not scale exports quickly enough to fully take advantage of that window. Then came the conflict, the US-Iran conflict in the Middle East, and the wider Middle East conflict this year. Yet another window of opportunity. And that kept the Brent trading at record figures that were well above our national budgeted benchmark. However, our limited production, our limited spinning reserves curtailed our ability to maximize the potential windfall revenues. The lesson from both crises remains the same. The next geopolitical shock is not a question of if, it's a question of when. We must borrow a leaf from the Dangote refinery by prioritizing upfront investment in potent capacity. We must see infrastructure not just as an economic asset, but as a strategic national shield. It is therefore important to build the partnerships, the capital, and the readiness today that enable us to seize tomorrow's opportunity rather than watch it pass by us again. This is the very essence of this year's theme at NOG Energy Week, which is around forging Africa's strategic energy growth through global collaboration, and is the reason why we are gathered this week. We must always remember that progress is not a destination. It is a wrong way, and the question before us today is, wrong way to what? For decades, we have measured industry success largely by barrels produced, cargoes lifted, and revenues collected. Those measures are important, but they do not translate in harnessing the true potential of our vast hydrocarbon resources. For us, as Nigeria, the key question is whether we have the courage, the discipline, and the urgency to convert these resources into national value, industrial development, and shared prosperity. A country that produces crude but cannot refine at scale is exposed. A country that produces gas but cannot process, transport, and utilize it efficiently to drive growth is constrained. A country that exports raw molecules but imports finished energy products has not yet fully captured the value of its resources. Nigeria's hydrocarbon development must go beyond merely extracting crude, oil, and gas. Our national production aspiration is commendable, but we must focus beyond production to the level of national development derived from the entire value chain. We must ask deeper questions on what this incremental production will translate into. How many jobs are created for Nigerians? How much local capacity is built? How much crude is refined locally? How much gas is processed into LPG, CNG, power, fertilizer, petrochemicals, and the industrial feedstock? How many communities are connected to real economic opportunities? How many Nigerian engineers, technicians, welders, geoscientists, process operators, traders, and project managers are developed into world-class professionals? For Nigeria to fully benefit from its hydrocarbon resources, we must build an industry that is resilient and investable before the next opportunity arises. It is against this backdrop that IPPG is calling for urgent measures to be undertaken by all relevant stakeholders in addressing 4 key but not totally exhaustive areas. First, there must be a shift in government posture from collector to catalyst. As we chart a path forward, we must confront a challenge that continues to erode industry-wide competitiveness. This is about the sheer weight and multiplicity of fees, levies, and statutory charges imposed across the value chain. Today, the Nigerian oil and gas industry remains the most taxed and the most levied. And perhaps globally, as of today, there are over 270 separate fees, tax, and levies being paid in the industry. These fees from multiple agencies and the cumulative burden threatens to outpace fiscal incentives introduced under the Petroleum Industry Act, and they counteract the intention to retain and attract investment. We therefore urge government and all those who are involved to undertake a comprehensive harmonization of all fees and levies across all agencies to eliminate duplication, to ensure transparency in how these charges are computed and applied, and to align the overall fiscal burden with the incentive-driven spirit of the PIA. Number two, the talent crisis, the cost of inaction. Another area that demands immediate attention is talent development. There is a manpower and competence crisis emerging, and it is one that poses an existential threat to the industry. Many of the professionals who built and operated Nigeria's legacy assets are retiring or have left the system. IOC divestments in recent years has further exacerbated this issue. At the same time, new technologies, new operating models, new safety expectations, and new commercial realities require a different depth of capability. It is therefore incumbent of every operator to commit significant effort and investment to hiring, training, and empowering the right talent. This is not corporate social responsibility, it's at the core of our business survival. Number three, the future is integrated, transitioning from commodity exporting into a broader value-enhanced midstream and downstream industry. The future of this industry will not be determined by upstream production alone. It will be determined by how effectively we create viable linkages between the upstream and midstream sectors, including downstream sectors, connecting production to processing and all the likes in the value chain. The future is not just about hydrocarbon production, it is about how we manage them efficiently. The fourth one, revisiting the PIA, working collaboratively for a winning PIA. Finally, we must speak about the Petroleum Industry Act. The passage of the Landmark Act provided a new legal framework which helped to resolve several long-standing uncertainties across the industry. 5 years on, we believe the time has come for a comprehensive and an all-inclusive review of the Act. This provides an opportunity to address the practical and commercial realities of the PIA in a very single and coordinated exercise that focuses on critical improvements, consolidating on the progress that we have all collectively achieved to date, clarifying ambiguities that has been experienced in the course of implementation, and most importantly, strengthening the PIA by codifying into law the series of executive orders and presidential orders which have all been widely applauded in the industry. As I round up, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the task before us is enormous, but it's achievable. What is required is alignment and execution, regulations that enable speed without compromising standards, fiscal environment that is competitive and rewards investment, security across our operating corridors, expansion and upgrade of crude oil and gas infrastructure, both for export and domestic markets. Let this 25th NOG Energy Week mark the moment that we take it to the next level, the progress on the conversation on how best we move decisively from extraction to value creation and choose competitiveness over complacency. The next chapter of Nigeria's energy story will be written by those who are bold enough to invest, honest enough to reform, and united enough to act. IPPG and its members stand ready as partners in that work. I thank you all for your attention and wish you a pleasurable and engaging time at the 2026 NOG Energy Week.